The Irish Times has been around for a little over 150 years. It's the newspaper of the establishment in Ireland, if you like, the people who take life seriously, who want to know what's going on in the country, who want to know what's happening in business, what's happening in government, what's happening in the arts, what's happening in areas of importance in public life. In that sense, it has to some extent been a newspaper of record, although those of us who work there nowadays would regard it more as a newspaper of reference, if you like, that if something happens, if it's important, it ought to be in the Irish Times. Today, the newspaper is developing in all sorts of interesting directions, like lots of other newspapers, online, Twitter, social media, that whole aspect of media. But today, where we are now, in the Little Museum of Dublin, we're standing in a room that we call the Editor's Room. And this is a small taste of the history of the Irish Times for those 150 years. This is an exhibition that starts with reference to Lawrence Edward Knox, the man who founded the newspaper in 1859, and it progresses up to the present day. And some of the photographs you can see here behind me are very much more contemporary. They're very 20th century, Nelson Pillar being blown up there in the 1960s, former Taoiseach Charles Haughey, etc. But in between those two periods, if you like, there's a big story to tell. And so the room here is built around the presence of one of the most famous editors of the Irish Times, R.M. Smiley, Bertie Smiley. Where I'm sitting now is what we call Smiley's desk. I think more accurately, it's a desk at which Smiley, at some stage in his career, his 20-year editorship, worked, because there are a couple of other desks that are known as Smiley's desk as well. This came from Sean Kilfeather, who was a boxing correspondent in the newspaper. Here is Smiley's portable typewriter. And I'm pretty sure that that's his, because that was given to us by Maeve Binchy, the novelist. And she changed her will to give it to us. So it's really important, a little treasure here. Over on my right there is Smiley's desk lamp. So all around here there are little bits of ephemera and memorabilia that were either donated or were rescued from our old building in D'Lear Street when we started leaving there in 2006. So when you come here, you'll find little bits and pieces all over the place. And one of the things you'll also find is a copy here of the original front page of the newspaper. And also on the wall on my right here, there's a lovely pastel drawing of Smiley by Harry Kernoff, one of his friends. And besides that, Smiley's most famous front page from May the 8th, 1945. And as you can see, the photographs are arranged in a V for Victory, Victory in Europe Day. And that's the front page that Smiley snuck past the censors after they'd left the office. So if you're a reader of the Irish Times or a lover of the Irish Times, this is a great place to pop into and sample little bits of our history. It's good for students, it's good for anybody interested in current affairs, it's good for anybody interested in media, or anybody interested just in how this newspaper has tried to reflect the life of our country for over a century and a half.